the Twin Towers and other attacks in Washington by Al-Qaeda. So in that context, Jake, they are trying to mutate. And I think it's very interesting indeed that the G7 have said that they are going to have a unified response in looking for actions, not words from the Taliban in the future. Jake?
All right, Sam Kiley at the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. Let's bring in our panel, and I want to start with Nick Robertson because you heard the president there talk about the meeting that he had with allies, with the G7, with NATO, with the European Union, talking about how they felt, and they agreed on some issues. He emphasized, obviously, the positive. Tell us about how these meetings went, how that call went.
Well, the preamble to this was, of course, that the G7 allies, particularly the Europeans, wanted more time to get their nationals out. And I think one of the key things that has come out from it, and this is framed by the British Prime Minister, who, of course, is a G7 president at the moment, if you will, hosted that virtual meeting. He has said that the relationship with the Taliban going forward, and I think this echoes what the president said, that thus far the Taliban are working with us. Thus far the president said, but we're now getting to that pinch point where we heard from Sam that the Taliban aren't allowing Afghans to get to the airport, that they aren't allowing them to get there because they say that Afghan nationals should stay in their country, that the country needs the doctors, needs the engineers, needs the academics. It doesn't want to lose this big raft of intellectuals who've been helping the coalition, who feel that their safety is guaranteed only by leaving the country. So you have this pinch point emerging. So the British Prime Minister framed it this way, and he said, let me just put it precisely here. The number one condition we're setting as the G7 is that they, the Taliban, have got to guarantee the right of way through to the 31st of August and beyond for the safe passage of those who want to come out. So we seem to have a direct confrontation now between the agreed position of the G7 and the Taliban. And I think this is going to be a real test for the G7 on this commitment to be united and to line up behind President Biden. But the underlying feeling at the G7 was the United States is getting out too fast, but they recognize there's nothing that they alone can do without the United States there.
And of course, we know that the Taliban are stopping Afghan special immigrant visa applicants from going to the airport. And we know that from talking to them, and we know them from talking to people who are part of the evacuation effort. The Taliban has said, David Shelley, President Biden, obviously careful today to avoid sounding as though he's accepting terms that are being dictated by the Taliban. What do you think are the repercussions about the deadline if the U.S. military were to leave and there were, let's say that he gets all the Americans and green card holders out, but leaves behind, the U.S. military leaves before all of the special immigrant visa applicants can get out, which seems likely. What repercussions will there be, if any?
I mean, I don't think, again, just looking through domestic political calculation here, Jake, I don't think there will be many domestic political repercussions for that, assuming he gets a whole bunch of those Afghans, those SIV applicants out that help the U.S. in this 20-year effort, or as many as possible. And you can see in the numbers clearly, I mean, many more non-Americans are getting out than Americans in what we see in the ratios of what is coming out of Afghanistan in this incredible evacuation effort that's underway. But I think what the president did today in his remarks were two things that I think sort of gives us real insight into his thinking on this right now. One, in terms of playing up the real acute threat from ISIS-K and giving voice to that, that was to me, I read that as a real rallying cry for America to gather around that this is the right decision to get out of Afghanistan now, and that this growing threat, he said, growing by the day, every day longer that they're there, this threat increases, sort of proves his point that this is the time to go, and he knows that Americans are with him on that, and I think he's emboldening that position. The other, actually, is the connection to the first third of the speech, I think, which was actually about not Afghanistan, but what was happening in the House of Representatives today and his Build Back Better agenda, because I also think that gave us insight into the president's thinking that Americans, for his own sort of political future, and again, there are larger things here than politics, but that Americans are more keyed into sort of kitchen table economic issues, and that's why I think he led with that whole progress being made on his Build Back Better agenda, reminding Americans that the economy is growing right now, that jobs are being added, that he's making progress on those bread and butter issues.
And Susan, we should just take another moment to acknowledge the U.S. helping to evacuate more than 70,000 people from Afghanistan since August 14th, including at least 4,000 Americans. That's a remarkable achievement. The big question, of course, is how many Americans are still in Afghanistan trying to get out, and that's a number we do not know as of now. We're told that Secretary of State Tony Blinken will give that number tomorrow. But as a general achievement, this is something to take note of. It is remarkable.
Well, that's right, Jake. I think you're seeing the incredible power and might of the U.S. military kicking into gear. This may end up being, they're saying, the largest evacuation of this kind ever conducted, and clearly it was ramping up from almost nothing. This was not anticipated. The rapid fall of the country to the Taliban and the fall of Kabul and the Afghan government was not anticipated. And normally when you start out behind the eight ball like that, it makes it all the more remarkable that they've been able to ramp up their capacity so quickly. I think the big questions for the State Department and for the Department of Homeland Security will be, what happens to all those people now? You have thousands of people in Doha, Qatar, and in other U.S. bases. An incredible diplomatic effort has also been assembled on the fly. These were not pre-existing plans that they've just taken off the shelf. They've actually had to assemble in just a few days from a standing start an enormous diplomatic effort to underpin this. And there's 2,000 people who are going to be taken here in this country, and another 2,000 in Jordan. And it's really an enormous international effort that you're seeing right now. But of course, so many questions remain. I did not hear from President Biden today a firm 100% we're out by August 31st, but there was very little and even decreasing wiggle room, I would say, on that.
Colonel Layton, do you agree with that August 31st, you expect that will actually be the final deadline?
Well, it does sound like that, Jake. And I think that Susan's point is really a good one. However, there's this little piece of, if the Taliban do something, if they do something against us, then it's going to be.
Where's my purse?
What?
Where's my purse?
Your purse?
Yeah, I told you to hang it up on.
It's up there.
Oh. No, I meant up there. I was looking for my phone. Plus, you shut the door. How are you supposed to watch the dog when you shut your door?
Oh, yeah, I
She
forgot.
pissed on the floor out
Damn
there.
it.
Yeah, well, I asked you to keep the door open and watch the dog.
Yeah, I know, you did. I just totally forgot. I'm the worst.
You always do that.
I'm the worst. It's not funny though. It's not funny though because it doesn't happen on purpose.
So, when do you think the U.S. should pull out?
Well, I think we should be talking to the G7, our NATO allies. We know the Brits, the Germans, do not want us to evacuate on August 31st. They would prefer we extend that. I think what the president's done now by solidifying this in stone, this is the absolute last day. I can tell you, we had our classified briefing with the Secretary of State, Defense, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. We don't even know how many Americans are in there. They can't even give us a precise number. Many Americans don't
Damn
want to
dogs.
share the state. But one thing is clear: there's no way in 7 days we can remove all American citizens, much less our
Damn dogs always barging in my room barking at me.
for many months now. And when that door shuts, I still stand by my statement. He will have blood on his hands because they will execute them upon our withdrawal.
Do you think that the U.S. should stay at the airport until every special immigrant visa applicant, every Afghan ally who has applied to get into this program is out?
Well, that is what the Secretary of State told us at the classified briefing. We were going to get them all out. That's obviously not going to happen with August 31st deadline. I've always thought that it should not be timetabled, but rather mission-based. If the mission is to remove and get all American citizens out, which should be the case, not leaving them
Oh
in the
yeah,
hands of
I
the
remember
Taliban.
now.
These interpreters
Damn it.
have a bullseye on their back. It should be mission
based, not on a timetable. 7 days, Jake. Even the retrograde itself, they'll be lucky to get that done in 7 days. They're going to leave all these people behind, and it's really hard to watch this.
As you know, Biden is concerned, I'm sure we all are, about losing any more American service members in Afghanistan. The idea of extending the duration of time under which the United States presence will continue in Kabul, that would exacerbate the risk. You've heard Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, talk about the real terrorist threats that they're picking up, especially when it comes to ISIS-K, which is in Kabul and Afghanistan. What do you say about that?
So I think that's real. ISIS-K is real. The Taliban really doesn't control them. When I was chairman of Homeland Security, ISIS-K, one of the biggest external operation groups, now they're going to thrive in Afghanistan. And, my point is that why are we letting the Taliban dictate the date that we evacuate out of Afghanistan? It should be the other way around. But now I think because they didn't plan, they didn't have a strategy, there's so much chaos at the airport. Jake, I'm getting, we're having a clearinghouse, the Foreign Affairs Committee, getting thousands of these people out of there. But sadly, a lot of the interpreters that have their SIV documents get to the airport, the Taliban apprehends them, sends them back to their home, executes their children and family, and then they execute them. And I've heard countless stories of this happening. The airport is a absolute disaster when the Taliban is controlling the gates. These people are being turned away, they're being killed. This is not the American way. And I think, we should have had a strategy here, but since we didn't, and now we're worried about ISIS-K, we're going to let the Taliban dictate our foreign policy.
Let me ask you, because you've been talking about this issue of the special immigrant visas for years, and you and I have been talking about it on this show for months. There are a number of other voices in the Republican Party that are already, whether on television or on tweets or whatever, starting to demonize Afghan immigrants, starting to talk about this is Biden's plan to put more Muslims in the country, starting to insinuate that these are bad people, they're terrorists, etc., really rank bigotry. What's your reaction when you see it? Because it is, I wouldn't say it's the prevalent voice in the Republican Party, but it's getting louder.
Well, look, all Afghans will go through a screening, vetting process out of country, and I think that's very important. When the Syrian refugee crisis was happening, we didn't have any databases, Jake. We didn't know who they were. We didn't have intelligence. Jay Johnson, secretary, told me that. It's very much against that. This is a very different situation, particularly when you talk about the interpreters. Talk to any veteran who worked with an interpreter. They were one of their own. They put their lives on the line against fighting the Taliban with our U.S. soldiers, our special forces. You talk to any of our special forces, any of our veterans, they were like brothers. They were vetted to become a part of the unit themselves, put their lives on the line, and for God's sakes, if we didn't do that with our American troops, and we made a moral obligation promise to them, promises made, promises kept, and now with this August 31st, that promise will be violated, and that sends a really bad message across the world.
Republican Congressman Mike McCall from Texas, I know you're working hard to get a lot of these special immigrant visas, as well as American citizens and green card holders, out and to safety. Best of luck with that. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Coming up next, a brand new study on the effectiveness of vaccines. How are they performing against this new Delta variant? Stay with us.
Yeah, catfish belly, man. Okay. My big black guy. Tree on the end because I don't.
Look for the Ecolab site certified seal.
As your business changes, the United States Postal Service is changing with it. With e-commerce that runs at the speed of now, next day and 2-day shipping nationwide, and returns right from the doorstep. It's a whole new world out there. Let's not keep it waiting. When you're ready to clean up that mess, reach for Barkeeper's Friend. Once tried, always used. Famous for cleaning stainless with Barkeeper's How can they shine? Even baked on splatter won't matter when your bath's a disaster. Cleaning faster. Barkeeper's friend. Been working for generations since 1882. It's the #1 cleanser that's bleach-free. Reach. From Barkeeper's friend. In the cleaning aisle of 5 stores everywhere. Available as powder, cream, or spray.
From roof to foundation, the damage to your home can be devastating, from clogged gutters, leaking rooms, rotting.
Bad girl.
It seems to me like barring a lobotomy by the Taliban, you have 3 pathways ahead of you. One, you can expand the perimeter and establish a corridor into Kabul to get our Afghan allies out. 2, you can extend the August 31st deadline of withdrawing. Or 3, you can just leave the tens of thousands of Afghans who've helped us over the past 20 years.
I try to swing and swag, but I can't get up to the zigzag. I got... Oh, shit. Freestyling's fucking hard, man.
Which one is it going to be?
First of all, as I said, Helene, we're going to evacuate everybody that we can physically possibly evacuate, and we'll conduct this process for as long as we possibly can.
Especially when you can't breathe. I should do some breathing exercises. Be, fight, fo, fum, ho hum, ha, ha, ha.
Avenue, mad at you, where I used to battle you. Back when Antoinette had an attitude. Cover me, I'm blowing in. Walls closing in. Got us busting off these pistols. My niggas got issues again. Same song, on with the mega bomb. Blow you out the brain and I'm gone.
Yo, I was going too, but B-roam, cellular phones, stop that. Back in the flesh, blood and bones, don't condone. Split bank loans and homegrown. Suckers break like turbo and ozone. When I grab the broom, moonwalk.
Police reported ahead.
Lost, Ruby Nines in the club with back.
What? Oh shoot. Oh shoot, man.
Welcome, may I have your attention? Pull up a seat, begin the lesson. Let's go.
Issues with the Taliban.
I got that. You got that. We got that. Boom.
We cannot afford to either not...
Tongues
passageways for them to get to the airfield. I don't have the capability to go out and extend operations currently into Kabul. And where do you take that? I mean, how far can you extend into Kabul? You know, and how long does it take to flow those forces in to be able to do that?
So it sounds like you're saying this depends on diplomacy with the Taliban. That's it. That's our only option, is getting them to agree to do this.
Well,
Drop debts on a bummy bum bum. Bummy bum 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 bum. Start digging, my level already up.
My black hand snapping back then, leaving bodies in the trash can. Chasing 40 acres and some horsepower, but the forecast say we getting more showers. Shit ain't sweet, in fact it's getting more sour. So I'm chasing money every day, 24 hours. This rap shit's the easiest. All my bars the beefiest. I bring fire to the world like Prometheus. Catch me selling cross the
stable. You suck is what I'm saying, and I'm so-so, bozo or zozo. Turning on you kiddos, ghosting lectures, yeah, that's a ditto. Use the buddy system in the cloak up.
C's Odysseus, kick raps to the tracks to cease. I show you how to make a masterpiece. I show you how to make a masterpiece. I show you how to make a masterpiece.
Doom 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 ba doom ba doom 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 ba doom ba doom doom doom.
Dismembered. 23 racks, infrared chemistry. Ain't said nothing yet. Just inhale the expanse. Test tube, Huffington Post, next. B-twins and turbo vets. Blurb, sewing, regret, past pets. Selfie sticks and finger licks. Bunsen burners, yearning for yours and burning for cures to the doldrums. They pick me up, saying.
Hit it one time, two live. Laying poolside and it made me woosah. Too fine, do your own thing, I'ma do mine. I'm a cloud nine, cause the vibe too high. Fat ass, lap dance, pop it on a handstand. Big bags, big cash, hit 100, call fast, don't crash. If you ain't ready, don't ask. Talk a big game, but I know you won't last. Keep the dollars on me, keep designer on me. Man, start tripping, I'ma find a homie. Swag genuine, tryna ride the pony. Face get exposed, you can hide the phony, you know. Top of the line, bitch, numero uno. New coupe, 2 dog, too hot, Pluto. Trippin', said he wanna kick it like judo. Missing, Iggy been pimpin'. Listen, don't need dog rooms, I am the strip club. Don't need red lights, I am the strip club. I do the lap dance, I ride the polar. I am the strip club. Don't want your love, don't.
On boxes, chrysalis passed her by. Now she is as tall as a model. Luscious locks says to a client, gist of it, pay how you pay and pay this way, I'll nay nay. She passed the stripper application today. Raspberry vodka and soda with a twist. Rules, no kiss. Silence in the mist.
Okay, sorry. I got carried away. I got carried away. Anabolic beats. One leg having fun, box 'em, use out where they crumble the nice ways. But true drunk prefer the A's. Check this, even generic shoes get jacked on any days. Wake up before I come correct, straight check. Switch off a tree, hit you in the neck. Wooden spoon growing up in this house. Moms could get ugly quick in a pretty blouse. Wrecked her car from a carpe diem. Came to my senses, hit the dealership for a car on the fences. Moms grew to be understanding. My choices were demanded. Mad mental, left some neurons stranded. On a path with no synapse. Still got plenty of gas for the pumps though. Relapse, I don't feel so bad, yo. Properly, dope boy had a shrewd monopoly. Sad dope dumps, dropping splat to the shop of tats. Who that's? Michael Myers longing to hear that. Get beat down with an Easton bat. Bourbon, moved to the wayside. Tried to hide, insatiable, my appetite. Destruction rose the geisha. Thermostat, camera, caught your man, hand in your tent. Coy, then you got blamed it on this boy. With a burn, notice this how I survived the bucket. Listerine cause my flow is thrush, whoa. With my surmise, certainly couldn't be your demise. Could it, should it, would it be the thing to do? If I was Weston, almost retired and dangerous. Investing in my future for the most. Luckily I don't boast, yeah my shit is toast. Hear me coming from afar, large strap to my tard. Did I get a headshot? St. Pete, 2 feet, 10 toes down on the repeat. Reaping Indias, how you get so deep, she said. LMFAO, dick shuffling for show. Putting this hoe, that hoe got blowed. Ronnie sized hag in a brown paper bag. Fuck that shag, on to the next. Mental block vex got me perplexed. Haven't I missed enough, you stress? Rhymes dissonant to a drum drop piano roll. Hold up, dominoes not mine. Too low as my behind, then time to peace out. Your fucking rhyme. I get tipped. He's up on my fable. Morale of the story, his dick's not stable. You suck is what I'm saying, and I'm so-so. Bozo or Zozo. Turning on you kiddos. Ghosting lectures, yeah, that's a ditto. Use the buddy system in the cloak hall after school special snow call. Surf City, get pitted. Crumbles at the bake sale, fumbled outwitted. Shitted on pedophiles' algorithms. Slides while I try to lobby some more dinero or rob some contrails for my droogs. Use needs to, the ways to sound, the way to go down. Refugee bound, gotta skip the polls. For binary expansion in holes. Found a voxy, dauntless, hypoxic, cyanotic blues. Got no rhythm no more. 2 weeks of stationary. Jacked on a stopper for a fortnight vacation with Larry. Begging for these hordes got my pillows on whoopsie. Bill Cosby freebie. Walks free. Quad. Who said Humphrey could slide on these? Weeds could be spare on sheriffs or sheesh.
Well, let me add something here, Helene. We got a couple of entry control points set up. A north one, east one, and a third one at Abbey Gate. They're currently manned with consular officers, Marines. This is all part of the perimeter. Messages have gone out by various means of communication from the State Department to American citizens and others. And they're being told to go to those gates. Right now, we're processing at about, I think the last report was about 120, 130 an hour, something like that, at the north, and about 340, 350 an hour, something like that, at the south gate. So right now, there's a steady flow of people. Now, as that goes on, I think those numbers will continue to grow, and as those messages go out. And I would tell you that for the American citizens, passport holders, the Taliban and the State Department are working out a I got it, but they're working out a facilitation measure. So those numbers are likely to grow. For the others, the State Department is still working through exactly getting the procedures for the evacuees to get to the airfield.
We'll get it, Jen.
Defense Secretary Austin, how many U.S. taxpayer funds